Thank you, Mel and Rose, for that introduction. My name's Tim Lucas, and I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Buildkite. And I'm joining you today with Eleanor Kiefer-Haggerty, engineering manager and team lead of Buildkite's pipelines team. Welcome to Buildkite's first ever conference. And although this is a virtual conference, I'm very much here in the real world on the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to them as the traditional custodians of this land. We have some really amazing talks lined up. I'm super proud of what we've put together. And I just want to start with a huge thank you to all the speakers who have taken the time to share their knowledge and engineering practices from their teams with us over the next few days. And we've also organized some really awesome live technical webinars for you. So a massive thanks to all the hosts of these webinars. You can find the registration details on the website and in Veto, so go and sign up for some of those. And finally, a massive thank you to all of you for attending. It's a real honor to put on our own first community conference, and it's really special. Buildkite was born out of the Ruby community in Australia. It's where I met Keith, my co-founder, who unfortunately can't be here for the conference. He's taking care of his new baby, but he said to say hi to you all. And with that, let's kick things off. So in this talk today, there's three parts. Firstly, I'm going to cover 2021, a look at some of the exciting stuff we've released and how we're going with the platform overall, and also what's happened in the community. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the future and some of the trends we're seeing with teams implementing CI/CD at scale. And then finally, I'm going to hand it over to Eleanor to talk through some of the exciting things happening in pipelines. At the start, we'll cover 2021. What a decade this last year has been. Between COVID worldwide and lockdowns here in Australia, it's been a real challenging year. And that's why I think it's especially important to recognize our wins and celebrate what we've achieved, both at Buildkite as a company, but also as a whole community. Buildkite's seen some phenomenal growth this year. We're running 5.5 million jobs per day now, and we're generating almost a petabyte of build artifacts every month. And a huge shout out to our Buildkite's foundation team, who keeps this platform running with such high uptime and scale, which lets you focus on scaling your development processes without having to think about scaling your CI/CD server. We've had some incredible people join our team this year. We're now 45 people across 12 different time zones. And don't be afraid to say hi to any of them at the conference over the next few days. We have 2,300 Buildkite community Slack members. And big thank you to everyone on there. We've got some incredible people that are helping people get started and providing advice, so thank you. And we've had so many incredible open source contributors to things like the Buildkite agent, the Elastic CI stack for AWS, and a raft of our other open source projects on GitHub. So a big thank you to everyone who's contributed. We have over 130 open source Buildkite plugins now on the Buildkite plugin directory, and 115 of them contributed by the open source community. So a huge thank you to all those plugin authors as well. We've seen so many awesome open source projects use Buildkite this year, and we're so happy to support them. There's too many to name, but the ones I wanted to call out are the Ruby on Rails projects, Amazon's Firecracker VM, Stripe's Sorbet, which is a strongly typed Ruby language, and Google's Bazel tool, which their team's speaking at the conference, as well as TensorFlow and gvisor. In Buildkite, we've also released some really big things this year, which I want to go through. And one of the first ones is AWS Graviton 2 support. So one of the advantages of using the Buildkite agent, the Buildkite model, is that you can take full advantage of new types of compute systems and architectures without waiting on us. So there's people using Buildkite to run massive GPU workloads for AI and machine learning. There's people testing medical hardware. There's people running agent clusters on bare metal cloud. And one compute platform that we've chosen to make a first-class citizen in Buildkite is AWS's new Graviton2 instances. So these are a new instance type released by Amazon. It uses a new ARM-based processor that they've custom made, and it provides higher performance for the same price. So we added first-class Graviton2 support to the Elastic CI stack and have continued partnering with Amazon's Graviton team since we did that. And we've been seeing some really promising results with faster build times at lower cost. And if you're interested in hearing more, you can head along to the AWS reInvent sessions in 2 weeks' time and hear more about that too. This year, we also released a Buildkite Terraform provider. Terraform allows you to describe your infrastructure and your services in code. So using the new official Buildkite Terraform provider, you can manage your entire Buildkite account configuration as code alongside all the other parts of your stack. So that means your agents, your AWS IAM and Google Cloud permissions, your source code provider config, and everything all in the one place. And we partner with HashiCorp to have it as a verified provider in the global Terraform registry. And one fun fact about our Terraform provider is it actually started as an open source project. So I want to give a big shout out to the creator of that project, Jared Tilbrook, who's actually now part of the Buildkite team. We know there are a lot of teams using Buildkite with Datadog, and so we've released 2 new ways of using Buildkite with Datadog this year. Firstly, we added support for sending traces directly from the Buildkite agent to Datadog, and that's also started laying the path for full open telemetry support in the Buildkite agent. And a huge thanks to GoodSpark at Discord for contributing a lot to this feature. And the second Datadog integration we added this year was support for their new CI observability tool, which they announced last week at their Dash conference. This integration gives you even more ways of measuring and analyzing your pipeline performance. And we partner with Datadog on this integration to make the setup experience really smooth. I love toying with new container runtimes and environments. There's always so much happening in this space. And people are starting to use scheduling systems such as HashiCorp Nomad and micro VMs like Amazon's Firecracker and hardened container runtimes like Sysbox. And what we found that in these advanced setups, sometimes you don't want long-lived agent daemons. You want ephemeral agents. So we added a new one-shot mode to the agent. So to achieve ephemeral agents before, you had to use custom agent hooks, but with this new one-shot mode, you can easily run a single agent process per job and have it automatically terminate after completion. And another really exciting thing we've released that's quite new is a brand new open source CI stack that's dedicated just to iOS and Mac developers. It's called the Elastic CI stack for EC2 Mac, and it's available on GitHub today. And it gives you an auto-scaling cluster of Mac machines in the cloud, backed by AWS EC2 Mac. To learn more, there's a webinar on day 3 with Manish from the AWS EC2 Mac team. He'll be there to answer questions. So register for that session if you'd like to know more and get a demo. And also, if you're interested in EC2 Mac, Oliver Koo from Pinterest is speaking tomorrow about Pinterest's own EC2 Mac setup and how they use it with Buildkite. So you can watch that session too. And finally, the biggest release for this year, Buildkite Test Analytics. This is super exciting. We've put a lot of work into this. Buildkite Test Analytics helps you go way beyond just making your builds faster. It helps you save wasted compute time. It helps you identify and diagnose flaky tests. And it also allows you to set performance and reliability alerts for your team. So if you haven't seen it yet, go to buildkite.com/test-analytics and sign up for the private beta. Tomorrow's keynote is dedicated to test analytics. Jasmine from the test analytics team are giving the keynote, And there's also a webinar on day 3 from Grant, who's our test analytics team lead, and he'll be giving a live demo of it in action. So go register for that too. And that's it for this year and this year's releases. It's been a really big year, and I'm super excited about what's to come. And now I want to switch gears and talk about what we're seeing as the future of CI and CD. So the great thing about working with some of the best engineering teams in the world is seeing firsthand where the boundaries are and where things are being pushed. And I just wanted to share with you some of the trends we're seeing with the teams that are implementing CI/CD at scale. One of the biggest trends we're seeing is that a lot of CI focuses on pass and fail, but people are looking beyond that. So until now, a lot of people are focusing on if all the tests pass, the build passes. If one test fails, then the build fails. But when you're testing at scale, your test suite becomes much more complicated. In one way, it becomes an entire application in to itself. And teams are starting to treat it differently with more instrumentation and ways of thinking about test confidence. So some of the things we're seeing here is deciding whether or not you really need to run every test on a pull request and intelligently detecting which test needs to be run. Another trend we're seeing is to not trust tests immediately or adding automatic quarantining for tests and putting them as soft failures so they don't fail the whole build. And another one is just simply running less tests. And people are starting to explore the boundaries of between test speed and confidence. And also in the space, tools like our new test analytics are in there as well, helping people. And I'm really excited about where people keep exploring, rethinking pass and fail. Another big trend we're seeing is hermetic builds. So hermetic builds are about creating reproducible builds that are dependent on known inputs and nothing more. So in practice, what this means is people have to go beyond the standard ways of caching and Docker tooling and find new ways of building their software. Teams are getting builds down to a few seconds using these techniques, not minutes, seconds. One of the build tools in this space is Bazel, as you can tell probably by the number of Bazel talks at the conference. Also, another one is Nix. These tools use a Merkle tree, just like a Git commit tree, where each node is hashed. And this allows for securely sharing state across machines. So a build can no-op if something's already been done. Just like creating a branch in Git is basically an inexpensive no-op operation. So these tools, although they're promising, they're still quite hard to get up and running and generally only used by some of the larger teams and companies. But the results are really promising, and you'll see in some of the talks, some of our customers have gotten some incredible results. So I'm really excited about what's happening in this space, and hopefully the tools change and mature and become easy to use. Another big trend we're seeing is that it's no longer acceptable to give your whole CI or deployment system full access to your cloud environment. What this means is we're seeing teams architecting their CI with very granular levels of security. And with Buildkite, this means granular agent queues with strong security guarantees and using new features such as clusters, which Eleanor will cover later. We're also seeing people start to experiment with hardened container runtimes and micro VMs. We're seeing people use per IAM and Google Cloud roles, along with OpenID Connect and JWT tokens. We're seeing much more widespread security linting and verification within pipelines, as well as more work on the security supply chain. So this is making sure any third-party dependencies can't break or infect your build process. And lastly, the last big trend we're seeing in this space is responsible scaling. So the beauty of Buildkite is you can spin up thousands of build agents and achieve incredibly fast builds. And you can pick and choose your cloud providers. But what we're seeing, teams are becoming more conscious of what's going on with their cloud compute, both for cost, but also for carbon usage. And some of the techniques we're seeing here is using performance analysis and observability tools to identify costly tests with things like Buildkite test analytics. We're seeing people reuse build caches more often and sharing the caches between CI and their local development environments with tools like Bazel. And finally, we're seeing people switch to carbon neutral compute. So, for example, AWS has 5 carbon neutral regions you can use, and GCP and Azure have recently released tools to help you account for your carbon usage. So, I'm really happy to see more people take advantage of all these to minimize the impact they have on the planet. CI/CD is a space with a lot of opportunity here, and we're really excited of looking at ways that we can help this too. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Eleanor to cover what's happening in pipelines.
Thanks, Tim. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I reside, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Hey folks, I'm super excited to talk to you all about the future of pipelines at Buildkite. As Tim mentioned, I'm the engineering manager and team lead for the pipelines team. The pipelines team nurtures the core CI/CD pipeline product that you all know and love, the agent and agent orchestration. Now, the team has done some phenomenal work over this past year, and I really want to call out a couple of highlights that we're all really proud of. We've added a job priority property to command steps to specify a job's priority within a queue. This gives you more control over large volumes of jobs and the order in which they're run. We sped up the S3 secrets hook in the Elastic Stack by rewriting it in Go, so now it's 60 times faster. Wow. Also in the Elastic Stack, we've added instant storage support for people needing to optimize their I/O performance. Buildkite should never see your secrets, but it's good to practice defense in depth. So we added secrets redaction to the agent. And a huge thanks here to David Baggerman at IRES for contributing to this. And here's a few other things that we've released this year, amongst so much more. But now I'm really keen to dig into the future and to tell you what we're excited to tackle in 2022. One of our values at Buildkite is to build it together. Our innovation is driven by you, by our users, and we can't wait to build the future with you. We know a lot of you are working with really complex pipelines, and we want to improve that experience. So today, I'm really excited to show you these 3 areas where we're going to be focusing going into 2022. Ergonomic improvements to the core of pipelines, advanced security and control, and broadening our cloud stack offerings. So we're really close to releasing a couple of new exciting things here. Matrix, groups, and fail fast. The matrix is a new command property that will allow you to construct multi-step pipelines without endless repetition and scripts. We're also adding the ability to group steps together and set dependencies between groups. This will make it a much nicer experience to work with builds that contain hundreds of jobs. And fail fast, to allow individual jobs to fail the build immediately, giving you quicker feedback loops and saving both time and cost of running agents. Now, we're on a never-ending quest to help you achieve stronger security. Currently, the only way to isolate agents is using queues and hooks, but we know that that doesn't go far enough for some organizations. So we're going to introduce a new way for you to manage your agents and pipelines, and in turn, give you another layer of security. It will be possible to keep both pipelines and agents more separated. It'll almost be as though they're in separate, interoperable organizations inside your Buildkite account. You'll have far more granularity and control, and remove the need to have additional Buildkite organizations. Some of you may recognize what I'm talking about here as the feature that we've been calling clusters, and now it's time to bring it into general release in 2022. As we begin to give you more advanced control over managing agent isolation, we're going to be looking really closely at agent health. But we want you to be able to define what a healthy agent means, to allow you to maximize and maintain your infrastructure in a way that's sustainable to you. So we're going to look at disk health checks, resource allocation, and timeouts. Our goal here is for you to have fewer failed builds and to say goodbye to some of your automatic and manual job retries. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is Kubernetes. Our Elastic CI stack for AWS has been hugely successful. So while we have the Helm chart, we really want to go further. So we're going to be building new Elastic stacks, dedicated to Kubernetes and more cloud providers. So stay tuned for more in this space in the future. I hope you're as excited as I am to bring in the future of CI/CD. I really can't wait to see what we can all achieve together. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or email. I'm always super happy to chat. Back to you, Tim.
Thanks, Eleanor, for sharing all the exciting stuff that's been happening in pipelines and what's coming up there. And that's it for day one keynote. A big thank you to all our incredible speakers, again, our partners, and all of you who have joined us. I really hope you enjoyed the conference. We put a lot of love into it, and I'm excited to see you all in the chat and also at the after party in Skittish.